Self podcast. Good morning and welcome everybody to your Healthy Self podcast. This is your host of the day, Cade Archibald, and really excited to be here with everybody. It is a gorgeous Thursday morning. At least it's gorgeous here in southern Utah. Not sure how it's treating you up in northern Utah, Regan.
Gorgeous. So nice.
Love it. Love the fall. Love this season. And we got a really cool show in store for everybody today. So buckle up. Get ready for a fun ride. Before we dive in there, our sponsor today, our show is brought to you by the Smart Medicine. For any of your supplement needs, go to thesmartmedicine.com. You can pick up some of our favorites. One of my favorite nootropics, Intergenius. I take that on a daily. That keeps me very sharp. That's why I seem so bright on this show. It's actually, I take it after this show, so if I seem unintelligent, that's the reason. Um, so, so that is our sponsor, and then we had a Health Accelerator course last night. We had a community event there every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure you guys join that. It is amazing. So you can register for that if you're not registered for it at ACU, that's acueastwest.com/hack, HAC. And so get there if you're not already. Last night I had to coach some flag football. Um, it was a battle. We came out with the victory, and really excited about that. So I missed the hack, but it sounded like it was really good. I caught up for a moment with Kendra this morning and got it, but I was unclear what the challenge was. So I wanted to make sure I know what the hack challenge is for this week, Reagan.
Oh man, well, it's pretty simple. What we talked about yesterday is the difference between the interleukin-6 response and certain cytokines that break down our bodies, and then cytokines that build us up and allow us to recover and rejuvenate. And so one of the research papers that I referenced, they found that people who exercise 6 days a week, 4 of those days being cardio, 2 of those days being serious weightlifting, that's when people had the best benefits as far as inflammatory cytokines go, and promoting anti-inflammatory properties. So the big challenge was find some physical activity you can do every day, but then also chart out your exercise routine. So changing, just physical activity and exercise are 2 different things, and differentiating those. And then, so just find something you can do on a daily basis was the challenge, just physical activity where you're at least moving your body every day. And then the second part of the challenge was, what's one thing you can get rid of that might not be serving you? Maybe that's white bread, pastas. Maybe that is, getting rid of sugar. So those were some of the things that those are the challenges, Cade. So find some physical activity you can do every single day, and also figure out ways that you can remove something from your lifestyle that's not supportive.
Love that. All right. So we got our challenges for the week, folks. So nice. Physical activity. I've been, I think it was ever since I was up at your place. I did that. It's the Ladder app, and was doing Ben Greenfield's workouts. And ever since then, I've been doing my really pretty like just all different movements with kettlebells. That's been my physical activity over the last 2 weeks. Is I've been loving the kettlebell.
Nice.
Not just like swings. Started following. I don't even know who it is. Some just beast mode guy that does all these different kettlebell movements, and yeah, it's been a good one.
Right,
Started
kettlebells are great.
Did that, and then I started Tesmerelin this week. So I'm feeling on top of my game. So I think this challenge, I got this whooped.
You got this one. Well, good. You'll have to keep us posted on your Tessa Morellin experiment. That's awesome.
Yeah, excited about that. Well,
Cool.
so Reagan and I were chatting this morning, talking about what kind of show we want to put on for you guys today. So
Yeah, and we got some good ideas because holidays, we'll get people ready for holidays. But then let's cover like the brain aspect of it, if that's all right, Cade. So we're going
love
to
that.
talk about dopamine, serotonin, all the cool things, and I'll kind of do an overview of remember our 6 week brain reset.
Yeah,
So we'll go through and kind of summarize that because I think it all starts with mindsets.
love that. Yeah, and especially so we talked about it. We're coming into the holidays, so we got a week before Halloween, and that really kind of kicks off all the holiday parties that everyone has. We got Thanksgiving around the corner, and then there's Christmas and New Year's. And this is the time of year when people kind of put their health on the back burner and start just focusing on food and parties. And so we want to just give you guys some good nuggets so you can be healthy through that process. And I think mindset is so key on that, Reagan.
Yeah, and once again, we're like totally game for great food, awesome parties. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. So go participate, go all in this holiday season. That's what we're saying. But you can go all in and not do any damage to your health. And actually, there's some good research that we'll talk about today that shows that participating in the holiday activities can be really good for your health and really good for your brain. And that's something that we've learned in the blue zones and these super centurions is that man, they all had human connections and they all did really fun things. So
Yeah, that seems like the common denominator is like a really active social community to live long, healthy lives. You got to
yes,
have that social interaction, have some fun with your partners and your community. So love that.
yeah. Well, great. Well, let's jump in. So, very first thing, and for those of you watching this, I'll share some slides with you so you can have a visual. But yeah, the very first thing is if you want to, when you jump into the holidays and any kind of mindset shift, it all starts with gratitude. This morning, I was doing a meditation. I finished my workout, and the trainer Ben Greenfield, he said, "Hey, make sure you get outside, do a walking meditation." And so that was part of my workout today. And I went outside, and the sun was just causing this beautiful streak of colors over the Heber Valley, and the reflection off of the clouds was incredible. The sun hadn't risen yet. It was about 6:30 in the morning when I was out there, and then the full moon was gorgeous. And so I think what we can all do is if you start every experience and anything you're going into, any confrontation, any issues you're having, if you just put gratitude at the forefront, it's kind of funny how all that energy just gets diffused. It's kind of like David Goggins. If you guys have read his book, Can't Hurt Me, just a phenomenal human being. Definitely don't listen to his stuff around kids. He's got some adult language that can be pretty intense. But David Goggins, his whole life, he was somebody who would, it's just like, he had a dad that beat him, was abusive. His dad left when he was 8. His mom went through 3 marriages in the course of like 6 months total of being married to these other men that also had their own issues. And he didn't know how to read. He was at a 4th grade level as a junior in high school, and ended up making the Navy SEALs. He was the 36th African American to actually make the Navy SEALs out of about 13,000 of them since the 1940s, and just went through a lot in his life. But he always said that he found that he kept going back to scratch. He would suffering. He'd pull through, he'd have a breakthrough. Life is good. And then his stepdad, who was really a mentor, gets murdered, for example. And then he gets pushed back down. And then he builds himself back up, and then boom, another setback. And he realized that there's two parallels. We can be walking through the mud and through the trough and through the crap. And what we don't realize is there's a sidewalk right next to us. And sometimes all it takes is for us to jump on the sidewalk and get out of that crap. But so many times when you're in it, you can't see it. So it's, you're walking through the dung essentially when there's a sidewalk right next to you. And he realized that just that one little shift changed everything. And so that's where, for those of us who are going through some tough times, like, starting with gratitude is where it all begins. And no progress in life, it doesn't come without gratitude. Yes, you can have anger, you can have frustration, but once you can put that gratitude out there, then things get really good. And so, Cade, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think it is. I love hearing stories like that where it's there people, and it doesn't matter who you are. You go through trials. Some people's are bigger and broader and more fierce, but it's amazing how resilient your brain can be, your mindset. If you get it in the right place, you can be extremely resilient from adversity and different challenges and problems. And I think a lot of it starts with what your brain health is and what you're putting in there, because I'm assuming, and I haven't followed David Goggins as closely as you, so I'm learning a little bit about him. But I think just the fact of what he's been able to accomplish, he's had a very strong mindset. He's had to do a lot of things health wise just to accomplish the Navy SEAL feat. To be a Navy SEAL, you got to be at like top notch health.
Well, and this is a dude that he failed, I think 3 times, 2 times or 3 times. He got to the end where it's like, this is your last shot. First of all, he couldn't pass the written exam just to be able to try out for it. And then when he finally passed the written exam, he realized, I've got to lose 120 pounds in 90 days in order to qualify.
Wow.
To even try out to be a SEAL.
I have some of his before and after images pulled up on my browser right now, and it's like,
here, why don't you share it? I think it'd be kind of interesting because, and I'm only sharing his story because his is no different than anyone else's. I mean, we all go through ours. So yeah, here's this before and after. Other interesting things about him is he's holds the world record in pull-ups. He did pull-ups for 17 hours straight.
just pull-ups.
Just pull-ups. He beat the world record. And so he's a big believer. He said, yeah, when I was 300 pounds, I like that. Reprogram your mind, turn darkness into power, visualize the end result, build mental toughness, take accountability, be present, stay hard, fix yourself first, control your mind, and commit fully. So he's somebody who knew he was victimized. He was a victim his entire life. And that's what he identified with. Is he said, I've got all these, I'm the only black kid in my school, on my street. He grew up on Paradise Road in, I think it was Michigan, where he grew up. No, it was New York. It was upstate New York. And it was just like a rough neighborhood that he grew up in. He always getting beat up, getting bullied, abused by his dad, his stepdads. And then, he pulled through, but he realized that he had told himself that he's not smart. He had no mental toughness. He was offended by everything, and he just switched the whole mindset. And now he's inspired many. I mean, he ran, I think this will be a shock to many of you, but he did 800-mile races in 8 weeks. So 100 miles would kill most of us. We would be crippled for about 6 months in order to recover. This dude ran 8 of those in 8 weeks. And so it's inspiring to just read the story. So I would recommend you guys, check it out. He's colorful in his language, but he feels like it's really important in order to portray what things really are like. And, if you're easily offended, I would not, look into this. So many people it's so easy to offend someone these days. you put your glass down on a table wrong and suddenly someone's exploding. So not you guys, but you guys know what I'm saying. But David Goggins, yeah, some interesting things. So, but he always goes back to being grateful for the fact that he actually had the realization that there's another pathway. And it was just having that simple realization that changed everything. Because once you have the gratitude, and I see that in every single person who's in our community, Cade, I think you've seen that in the clinic. We have people who have gone through enormous challenges. And I know many of you who are listening right now, and I know your personal stories, and I've been with you for years, and we've worked through it. But the courage that you have has been inspiring, and so that all starts with you just having this little glimmer of gratitude. And I noticed that when you come into the clinic, there's always like, "Thank you so much." I got an email from one of you this week, and just congratulating me on the new book, but just the kind words you said were so thoughtful in your appreciation. And I know it's not me, it's about this relationship we have, but it's you who expressed the gratitude. So thank you. But Cade, have you ever noticed that when you're grateful, it's a lot easier to be creative. It's a lot easier to see the good in other people. Cooperation increases, opportunities increase, ingenuity exponentials. I mean, we've got some really cool collaborative partners in our lives, and have you noticed how well it works when it starts with gratitude and how it kind of
Yeah.
trickles out?
No, I think that's so key, and I like that gratitude piece is something I think our mainstream media and just our a lot of our a lot of where the negativity comes is that's what's lacking is there's no gratitude in those spaces. And so I think if you bring that mindset to it, it's like impossible to really think negative if you're grateful for what your body can do, what you have currently, whether that's your social, your family, your and then your things as well. We got like we're in an amazing country that allows some really cool opportunities, and I think having some gratitude behind that. I think everyone needs the little gratitude soup, like every morning. Just take a big gulp.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah. Sip on that all day long because, yeah, I think right now more than ever, coming together, joining, being focused on health. If you just said, "Hey, all healing starts with gratitude." And then you say, "Okay, where do I not have gratitude in my life?" And just put gratitude there. If you disagree with something, you can still have gratitude around it, right? We may disagree with some of the political things going on, or you may disagree with what the media is saying about things. And it's okay because you can have some gratitude and understanding that, they're trying to discern and decipher information the best they can. And you can have gratitude for the fact that you actually have a brain and you can think for yourself. And that's something to be grateful for. And we live in a great place and a great time where independent thinking is so important now more than ever, and that we can do that and we can express it on platforms like this. We have this podcast, we'll go to thousands of people. This radio show streaming live to thousands of people. We have this Zoom platform. We have some amazing relationships that we've been able to develop and have this independent thought process that each one of you bring your own independent thinking when it comes to health. You said, I don't like the way that conventional medicine works. I want some real answers. And, we can all have gratitude for that we actually found each other. We found this path that we're on together is a great way. So as you're going into holidays, I think the most important thing in life are relationships. I mean, if my wife and I just celebrated our 6-year wedding anniversary, and I wrote her this card, and as I was writing the card expressing my appreciation for her, I said, you know what? Out of every single thing that I do in my life, I find that if I just put a little bit of energy towards you, I get so much in return. It's just crazy. Just a little bit of gratitude to your relationships, it all comes back like tenfold. And so I think this is I mean, holidays are a great time to just express nothing but gratitude. And so many of you are already shaking in your boots because you're like, I got to get my Christmas shopping done. I got, I got to get, the Halloween decorations aren't even up, Reagan. And so, whatever you're worried about in the holidays, at the end of the day, the more you can express gratitude for the humans in your life and the relationships, or pets, pets are great too. But I guarantee you're going to have a phenomenal holiday season. You'll come out so much healthier versus if you have the obligations that you have out there, and you feel stressed for all the events you have to attend. Just say, man, I'm so grateful I get to go to this party. I'm grateful that I already ate dinner before I showed up, because I know the food they're serving is not going to be exactly what I want to be putting into my body this season. I'm so grateful that I can be very selective, and I can actually have this opportunity to get out and exercise and do something physically every single day. These are all gifts. So yeah. So let's look at dopamine a little bit. How about that, Cade? Because that's a big one in the holiday seasons, right?
And I like what Irene said in the comments. Gratitude brings grace.
Yeah. Oh man, I'd love to have her expound on that, but I think by grace, Irene, I'd love to hear what you're saying. My concept would be that you have this, just you realize that life is a gift. Like when you have gratitude, like everything is a gift to us, and we're not entitled to anything. Like all of our pointing fingers and blame just goes away when you just realize that, hey, this whole thing is about grace of God, grace of the universe. Yeah, I love that. Cool. Okay, so the big killer in the holiday seasons can be dopamine. Because what happens here? So now we'll get into a little more of the tactics. The big overview is gratitude, but you're not always going to be, we're going to fall off a little bit here and there. But you'll notice that when you want that shot of dopamine, because maybe you'll have some more time on your hands, which is great. But recognize those little triggers that create that little reward circuit in your brain. And these triggers are usually activities that don't lend to long-term benefits. So scrolling through Facebook, that may not be the best use of your dopamine. If you look at video games, many gamers are, listen to this. And so it's like, yeah, that can be good for a minute, but you've got to learn how to shut it off. Better ways of getting dopamine, we'll jump into those. But, you want to get rid of distractions. And so some of the ways you can look at this is write down some of your thoughts, write down your gratitudes, right? Just take a pen and a paper. Have some solitude. So on Tuesday for my wife and I's wedding anniversary, I actually left my phone. I didn't have it for about 6 hours in a day. No emails could be answered, no phone calls received. And it was phenomenal. It was actually really peaceful. And Jess, as we showed up, at our place we're going to, she's like, I said, oh, cool, I left my phone. She's like, uh-oh, do you need to go back? I'm like, no way. This is a gift to myself. So yeah, that's really nice. So have some solitude, meditate, go for walks, do some deep thinking, visualize, drink some water, write a thank you note. All these are easy things to do to help, keep the dopamine going. But realize how dopamine is kind of spliced in with gratitude. Kind of interesting, huh, Cade?
Yeah. No, very true. I remember, when we're really little, and it was like Christmas time. You get all, as a kid, you get these different gifts and different things. And I remember Mom always like sitting us down and saying, "Okay, you got to write thank you notes to, everyone that got you a gift. Make sure you send one to Grandma." And
Mm-hmm.
then it just seemed like such a drag. But then you like start writing, and it like gets fun and exciting. And now like I look back at that, and I was like, oh, that was so cool that Mom made us do that. or at
I,
least gave us the opportunity. She didn't like stick the pen and paper in our hand and tell us what to write. It was just like, hey, let's all sit down and make some cards for everyone that gave us some gifts over the last holiday season. That's that thank you note thing just kind of triggered that memory.
yeah, that was a really cool thing that mom did. Loved that. And dad was the same, he wrote thank you notes all the time. He still writes great notes. A couple times a year, I get cards from him
Yeah, cool handwriting
randomly.
too.
Very cool handwriting. Yeah. Yeah. Our dad's, he writes, he eats left-handed. I think he writes right-handed. He throws a baseball left-hand. I mean, he's such an interesting human. He's great, but yeah. So, and I love this. Susan said, I found that people who really care about me do not mind if I bring my own food. I'm grateful that I can prepare for upcoming events. So Irene does the same thing. So it's really nice if you just let someone know, like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm doing this thing with my nutrition. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to just bring some food along. I don't want it to be awkward, or whatever. Just get some clearance. I like going in with a full belly. That's kind of my strategy, because I just don't like the hassle of bringing things. But if I'm going for a long time, well, actually, my wife is like, I could survive for probably a month on like what my wife brings for a day-long trip. So Cade's seen it, right?
Yes, I love the snacks that Jess has.
I'm always like, did you like starve when you're a kid? Like, did you have some like really extreme experiences? Because like we go on a hike and her backpack is like 30 pounds of food. I'm like, this is a 5 mile hike, babe. She's like, you didn't even bring water. I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I hydrated before I went. I want to get out here and run and have some free time with my body. I don't want to have any weight encumbering me. So yeah, kind of interesting, but yeah. So if you're like me, you can eat a lot before you ever show up someplace. All right, so let's talk about serotonin. So serotonin can show up, and this is what happens in holidays. Holidays is when we tend to have more alcohol, people take more medication. This is when a lot of suicide, actually the highest levels of heart attacks are Christmas Eve, and then second most are New Year's Eve. So these big events where there's a lot of stress and we put expectations on ourselves. That's when the most serious health complications can occur. And so here's some things to look out for. And I know you guys are like, oh, it's not even Halloween, but yeah, this is actually Halloween's when it all starts. So you might have some serotonin symptoms if you have frequent worry or anxiety. If you have seasonal affective disorder, trouble falling asleep, you're a light sleeper that is frequently and easily awoken, you've got frequent moodiness, strongly self-critical or frequent feelings of guilt, craving sweet or salty foods, especially later in the day, if you lack confidence more than you should, if you crave wine or alcohol later in the day, obsessive behavior like perfectionist, neat freak, or controlling, easily addicted to sugar, alcohol, TV, games, sex, or anything else you enjoy. And then what we find too is like a lot of fibromyalgia or unexplained muscle pains, irritable bowel type syndromes. They can all go along with that serotonin depletion. So check in with yourself, because there's things you can do to actually maximize your serotonin. We can talk about that. So, but Cade, what are your thoughts on the serotonin depletion? And
Yeah, that sounds very very holiday-esque.
yeah,
A lot of those symptoms. We probably get like overstimulated. So, and this is forgive my ignorance. So if you don't have a good balance, like dopamine can, if you're overloading your dopamine receptors, that depletes your serotonin.
well, serotonin and dopamine kind of go hand in hand. So they're feeding the brain in very similar ways. Dopamine's a little more the reward center.
Yeah.
Serotonin's where you feel connected and confident. And it can be a little more relaxing. The dopamine's like the high, and then the serotonin balances out the high. So they go together. So usually if you're serotonin depleted, you're going to be dopamine depleted.
Got it. So if you're just frying all your dopamine receptors, getting like a dopamine overload, eventually that's gonna you're gonna tank, and those things aren't gonna be as pleasurable as they once were.
No, if you think about weekends where you party really hard and then you just feel kind of hollow, you know what we do in our 20s, sometimes our teens, like you go to Vegas and you're like, oh, we're just gonna party. Well, you don't feel real good about yourself. There's no confidence that comes after that because you're just high on dopamine the whole time, and then serotonin's there feeding your confidence, but it's like a hollow sense of confidence. And then Sunday or Monday when you wake up or whatever day, then you're just like, man, your brain needs like 3 days to recover from that
Yeah.
because you push it. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense. I like what what Linda said. I notice I'm calmer in traffic when my serotonin is sufficient. Yes.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, there's a dude today when I was driving here. He had the craziest bumper stickers. I can't repeat them because it's like "Let's Go Brandon" bumper stickers that were just like crazy. So I was like, man, this guy seems like he's off to a bad start. I mean, plastered everywhere. So
He's a little angry.
he's a little angry. All right. So best serotonin boosting foods. So, wild caught, cold water fatty fish like salmon has been shown to increase serotonin. Organic green tea. Love the green tea. Like my teacher used to give me the best Japanese green tea. I mean, it's just so fresh and insanely good and tasty. Like it's got a nutty flavor, thick. But then she'd also leave a plate of little cookies to see how many cookies I'd eat. So, but it's a great way at the end of a hard clinic day. Turmeric is a great way of boosting serotonin. Then get your fermented foods, even dark chocolate. And magnesium is one of the precursors to serotonin. And so I know we've ran a lot of your labs, and running lab work right now, if you've not ran it in the last 6 months, now before the holidays is a great time to get your immune markers at least checked. But look at your magnesium, because magnesium levels are, that when they drop, your serotonin levels are going to be lower too, because you need the precursors. Or if you have some imbalances in your gut, make sure you get a stool test going. These are all really important things to prepare for the holidays. And the ways you can increase it, meditation, physical activity, get in our hacks. If you guys are not involved in our hacks, make sure you get in those. They're so powerful. What we do every Wednesday, get out in the sun, laugh more, have a daily regimen. It's really important to know what you're doing when, because if you have a day that's unintentional, what you do is you get into decision-making fatigue. You have an overwhelming feeling of insecurity because you're like, what am I going to do? I didn't plan out my day. So researchers have actually found that in order to have better serotonin levels, you need to really have things mapped out in your day. And then as you accomplish those things, you get a little hit of dopamine, which is kind of cool. Healthy diet, get rid of the bad habits, and then sleep is so critical. And Cade, I learned about a new sleep peptide that's amazing. It's got some herbs in it, and Dr. Johnson, RJ, gave it to me at the mastermind in Florida. So I've been piloting it, and I've been sleeping like a beast. I need about an hour less, but on my app, I'm consistently in the last 3 nights have been on like the 95 percentile. So I'll let you guys know how it goes. It's so far, it looks really good. So sleep is a critical thing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you talk about decision-making fatigue, it makes me think about, you know this about me, Reagan, is when we go to like a restaurant or something and the menu is just gigantic, I like shut down. I'm like, there's way too many options. I like, Reagan, what are you getting? Okay, I'm having what he's having. I'm not even gonna try to make that decision right now.
Well, the worst is when Cade's like, what do you like to get on the menu? I'm like, she's like an 18-year-old skinny girl. You're like a dude that loves to eat steak. She's like, I like the ravioli. I'm like, wrong question. Here's cool. Irene's eating sauerkraut after each meal. Love that. Bev says 85% dark chocolate is my level. Oh, good. Bev's getting back to writing. She loves receiving gratitude levels. And I trained my son to write a lot of cards. And Bev, your son Kyle is like
Oh,
he sends
amazing.
a lot of videos expressing gratitude and text. And then Bev, you're so good at sending cards. Like I love getting your amazing cards. So I'm so glad. That is awesome. Look at all these cool ways we can increase serotonin. Here's one of my favorite supplements to increase it, the serotonin brain food by my friend Roy Krebs, who is Natural Stacks owner. Great guy there. So try that out. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some other things you can do for brain health this holiday season. So let's talk a little bit about caffeine, and then maybe Cade, I could share one of my favorite activities over the holidays, because I think a lot of our audience members will resonate with this. But so remind me to come back to that if I don't. But my favorite thing, like holidays, I literally salivate when it comes to Christmas time. Like I get so excited about it, and it has nothing to do with gifts, not gifts that I'm giving or gifts that I'm receiving. It has nothing to do with that, not even the activities, not even travel. We try to travel some during Christmas, not activities. It has nothing to do with any of those things. So I'll come back to this in a minute. But how many of you, if you're looking at coffee, so coffee can be one of these things that can be, your best medicine, or it can be pretty poisonous to you, depending on how you use coffee. And it can be one of those deal breakers in the holidays is people tend to say, well, let's, or drink more coffee, and we're not taking care of ourselves. We're eating more sugar. It's a really easy pattern to get into during the holidays. So let's talk about some of the negative effects that can happen if you're drinking too much caffeine. And that can be coffee, that can be yerba mate, certain teas, like the energy drinks. Please don't get into those.
Yeah, over the last weekend, one of my friend's daughters, she's like 16, 17, and she wanted to get a rock star. And her mom was like, no, dad was like, well, what's the problem with that? And they looked at me, Cade, like, would, like, what do you think? Should I let her get a rock star? And I was like, I don't think anyone should have a rock star. I don't care how old you are. Like, that's that's my own personal belief. I'm not gonna judge, but yeah, no, I don't think anyone should have one of those things.
You're like, well, by the way, I didn't sign up to be the parent here, but
It was a it
but
was
that's
one of
a
those awkward moments where I was like, I'm right in the middle of this fight. I'm just gonna say, this is your choice, but if it's me, no one should have a rock star. I don't care if you're 90 years old or 10 years old.
I like how you framed it though. You're like nobody, and then they're like, ooh, thus Cade hath spoken. All right, so there are great benefits to coffee, and caffeine is an antioxidant. That's one of the reasons why you can put it on your skin, and it makes your skin do some nice things apparently. But overconsumption, which can happen during the holidays, it can impact your sleep. It can cause auditory hallucinations. You literally can hear things if you overconsume caffeine. It can hamper your absorption of minerals and vitamins like magnesium. Remember, what's magnesium the precursor to? Serotonin.
I
So
had to think there for a minute.
yeah, if you want to have more depression, then just like overload yourself with caffeine. Actually, there's been studies that show people who are, moderate consumers of coffee are actually happier. But there's a tipping point to everything. It can raise your blood pressure. It can be a mild diuretic. So you always have to drink the same amount of fluids. If you drink 8 ounces of coffee, you've got to replace that with 8 ounces of water that you've now dehydrated yourself with. It can lead to a loss of B vitamins and C, as well as calcium, iron, and zinc. Remember, zinc is your number one mineral for your immune health. And zinc also helps protect your leaky gut. So if you want to protect your digestive tract, make sure you have zinc in place. It can stain your teeth. Acids can aggravate heartburn as well. So, and then in the beans themselves, especially during the roasting process, there can be some carcinogens. So you want to make sure that you're getting really, high quality coffee, organic beans, no matter what, and then make sure that they're not heavily roasted, or that dark roasting can sometimes trigger some of these hydrocarbons that can be damaging to your health. Because caffeine, the other thing it can do, it can block adenosine, and that can make you tired. How many of you have noticed that you drink caffeine, you have a nice high, and then whack, you get nailed down, especially if you add some sugary food. And so I know a lot of us will be at family parties, and maybe you'll be staying at someone's house, and in the morning, here's some coffee, here's some pastries. Do your best to say, well, you know what, I'm going to put some collagen in my coffee, and I'm going to put some butter in my coffee, some MCT oil, some sea salt, and then I'm going to drink that. And then maybe I'll have a little bit of a pastry, a couple bites, and you'll be fine. But remember, adenosine, what happens is when you block that, then your brain becomes tired, and then you start to have diminishing function in your acetylcholine, your serotonin, and dopamine. And this is where you can get migraines and some of that jitteriness. So add L-theanine. L-theanine is your gateway to healthy brain waves. And we've talked about this before. So, one of your other hacks is just add in about 200 milligrams of L-theanine per cup of coffee you drink. And I've had so many people tell me, and Cade, I'm sure they've mentioned this to you as well, but they said, man, when I drink my coffee now, I have so much energy. Like, it's just like rocket fuel, whereas it used to just kind of be a habit and I didn't notice anything. They're like, now I just feel great, but it's not like a jittery, anxious energy. It's not like a stimulant. It's like this nice calming energy. So just by, doctoring up your coffee, you can do a lot of real good things for your brain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the L-theanine, and then also I think the fats in the coffee really make a big difference for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if you just, eat an avocado when you're drinking your coffee, that's great. But yeah, the butter, the MCT oil, put some coconut oil in there. These things are all really beneficial. And then I love the bone broth. That's actually my favorite. I put the bone broth, the chocolate bone broth, and then the sea salt, butter, and then a scoop of collagen peptides. And holy cow, good, rich coffee.
Yeah, yeah.
Better than a rock star, in my opinion.
Just a little.
Just a tiny bit. Okay, so let's.
It's not as sweet either. Those energy drinks are so. Yeah, I guess it just depends on people's tastes, but yeah, over time, my desire for like that like sweet, like skittly flavor, not a fan of that anymore.
Not gonna do it.
When I was like 13 to 15, Skittles, yes, that was my jam. Can't do it anymore. That's like just if I have like one, I'm like, this is gonna give me a gut ache. I gotta spit this out before it hits my stomach.
Yep, no longer. Well, let's talk about the final thing that I love doing, and this, I don't mean to like make this sound like such a big thing, but I actually really enjoy holidays for the ability that I have to learn, and then the ability I have to think. Because holidays, the clinic's closed a few days, which is really refreshing because they get a chance to reset and recharge. Because you know how it is, sometimes even on vacation, I've got emails to answer from patients and questions from the clinic. And so, you try to stay connected, but during the holidays, we all kind of take a little reset, which is beautiful. And I love to just really reflect back on the year. And I think many of you do that, and you do some form of self-reflection that allows you to really see, okay, how far have I come? Because Dan Sullivan's book yesterday, The Gap and the Gain with Benjamin Hardy, was just released. And so I'd recommend that each one of you look at that book, check it out, because the gap and the gain will give you some insights as far as, kind of what I'm talking about here. But if you're always measuring towards the ideal, like Cade, especially when it comes to health, I talked about this last night in the hack, but when it comes to health, are you at your ideal right now? I mean, are you at your ideal health?
For me, no. I don't think it's possible to be at the ideal,
Right.
especially.
And you're
Yeah.
always chasing it, right? And
Yeah.
so you get to where you wanted to go and you're like, nope, I got it, this not, and there's always another barrier. And so it's like chasing the setting sun in the horizon, where you're just like running as fast as you can, or you're on the airplane trying to keep up. It's like that's the wrong way of looking at it. And so what the holidays do, and the thing I appreciate the most about them, is I can just look in reverse. And instead of always chasing the ideal, I can say, well, where was my health last year? How was my fitness levels? What have I accomplished from a learning perspective? What are the biggest takeaways that I've had in this last year? What do I want to bring into the next year? What are the relationships that I've really helped improve and forge? Who are the people in my life that have been the funnest people to be around, the best ones to work with? So it's a really fun time to do that. And then out of that self-reflection, and Cade sees it more than anyone, then I have a slew of ideas and new things that I want to create for the next year. And Cade just waits anxiously for the emails. How many emails would you say I send you over the holidays on ideas? Have you ever actually read all my emails that I send? Because it's at least a novel's worth
I
of.
do. That's where I get most of my reading in during the holidays. I just wait. So maybe I'll have like a book on the side, but then I'll just wait for Reagan's email to come
He'll
through.
write me a book. Yeah.
It'll be inspiring.
Yeah, but it's a fun time to just kind of, look back. And then the other thing I like to do is pick a topic that I'm super fascinated by. And so I'll usually have like 3 books that I'm just like, I'm holding off on reading, because I'm like, I'm going to save these for Christmas. And I'm like, like the new Stephen Kotler book. I started reading it, how it's called Impossible, something impossible. But anyway, so I'm like, that's the book I'm kind of like scratching, like I'm ready to read that one and dive into it. But I'll usually have something that I'm super excited to really try to enrich and nourish myself. And that's the
The Art
gift
of Impossible.
what's
Is that a
that?
book? The Art of
The
Impossible?
Art of Impossible. Thank you. And so, yeah, that will be one I'll dive into. I'm sure there'll be a couple others, but I just find that if I can put the intention out there that I really want to enrich my brain and get it ready for the next year, it's kind of like a funny thing. It's like, okay, am I ready for 2022? And then, I like a tight deadline. And so then it's like that last couple of days, like, my brain's not ready. I have not learned enough to go into 2022. And so then I just like hustle and get it all done. And then 2022 happens. And usually it's nothing. It's not like somebody's there giving you a test as you enter into the next year. So
Isn't it funny how you put like you almost put pressure on yourself though? Like I got to map out everything that's going to happen next year. Like write it all down, get this like vision, and then it comes and maybe you're halfway through it, or wherever you're at on your planning stages, and it's like, oh no, the gauntlet did not drop on me. So it, I'm saying it's okay, I can still breathe.
right. Yeah. Most planning is just like a ridiculous use of time because it doesn't go anywhere. But what it does is it gives you the possibility, when you get into those sticky situations, you have a lot more poise and confidence. So, all right. Looks like we had,
Irene
oh,
just asked a question. So COVID worsened my memory. What supplement besides AIP will help. So I'm assuming
Oh yeah,
AIP is
autoimmune.
the diet you're on, or you're following that pretty closely.
Yeah. So, Irene, this is where getting on the ABP7 would be really good. We got to get the intelligence of the immune system back in gear. And then make sure you're using Selenk. So if there's any viral replication going on, it will mitigate that. And then Selenk is a good nootropic, really helps with the brain. And then Intergenius would be awesome for you. So those are some quick things you can do. But make sure that, you got to get your T lymphocytes. Anyone who's had COVID, or even if you've been vaccinated, it's the T lymphocytes that are really critical so that you don't have this reaction to the spike proteins. So, so yes. All right. Bev says, oh, it's her sister who is the artist for the cards. That's awesome. And she's just the benefits versus decaf versus caffeinated and the coffee. So I think that's great to research that, give your brain a break from caffeine. You don't want to do high quantities, even if you're adding the L-theanine. So I think it's good to go decaf for a couple of days and caffeine a couple of days a month. And then Bev says, Regan, you must write between midnight and 3 a.m. I'm slowly working on a little book. Good. Keep working on it, Bev. I do not miss my sleep no matter what. So you'll never catch me writing between midnight and 3 a.m. because I won't let myself, but I do, I write on weekends and I write during holidays. It's, that's my favorite time. So sometimes in the morning, early in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll have the bug. So I don't write when I'm not feeling it. But most of the time I'm feeling it about 5 days out of the week. So, all right. Well, so let's just do some takeaways, Cade. What'd you get out of today's conversation, our Healthy Self show?
So number one is gratitude. So let's I think as we go into the holidays, and I believe most people do a better job at expressing gratitude around the holidays than they do, the rest of the seasons. But I do think like having that right mindset behind, you know, I think just overall having the right mindset and really, it's not necessarily planning, but just knowing like, okay, if I'm gonna go to, wherever, whatever party, whatever social gathering, and just having a little bit of a strategy behind it to not deplete your health. So all the food, so whether that's a full belly, that's usually Reagan's strategy. My problem is if I go with the full belly, then I still have to eat everything there too. So, so then I'm just double doing it. But
So you need to go fasting. Just go
yeah,
fasting.
yeah. I don't eat anything. That's when I do my intermittent fasting. Is I
It's
wait till
another
like
good
four
strategy.
o'clock and then I just feast.
Yeah.
Um, and what's funny is I actually eat a lot less when I do that though. Than if I'm like, just normal, then I'll just graze and yeah, it's not my ideal. Uh, I really liked your thought on self-reflection, like using some of that downtime because usually like holidays can be really stressful. We got a lot of stuff going on, but there can also be some downtime where you have time with your family, you have time with just with yourself even, and that's where you can do some really good self-reflection. What have I accomplished over the last year? What's improved, and then making some goals and trying to better yourself for the next year of this life.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, hopefully you guys, man, I thought it was fun. I really appreciate you guys being part of our great community. Thanks for tuning into the show. Make sure you get into the hacks, and our newest book, Never Stop Healing, is set to be available by Halloween. So get ready. It's going to be an
Yeah.
awesome one.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Reagan, and thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back same time, same place next week. And make sure go check out thesmartmedicine.com. That's where you can pick up the Inner Genius. One supplement we didn't talk about, which is really critical during the holidays, would be Energy Multiplier. That's going to
Mm,
help stabilize your blood sugars. So if you're like me and you're going to do some intermittent fasting, that'll keep your blood sugar and energy levels consistent even when you're not eating. It'll also help you metabolize some of that food that you do eat a little bit better. So um, awesome. Love that, bed. Go out and be grateful with the gorgeous full moon. Oh man, the
yeah.
moon has been absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
Uh,
Thanks, Bab.
Thanks for sharing that. You guys have an amazing week. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.